Hi, my name is Christina Nathanson. Everybody calls me Tina, and I'm a global marketing research executive that recently presented at the Quirks event in Brooklyn. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Quirks event is a market research event where research agencies and clients from around the country and around the world come to meet up as just as in a traditional research conference, and there are a series of presentations across different categories. And I was invited to speak. I spoke on Wednesday, March 6th, and I wanted to share my presentation entitled, Trust Me, you need to hear this presentation. It's the fear of the unknown. Many of the attendees at the conference wanted a copy of my presentation, and it just didn't really stand up without the voiceover. So I'm providing the voiceover today for those of you who could not attend. And I would love for you to connect with me on LinkedIn regarding my presentation afterwards when you've gone through this. This is me speaking at the event. So let me just tell you a little bit about myself. As I mentioned, I'm a global marketing research executive. I am a strategic market research leader and an influential communicator, a speaker. I've spoke at many conferences before, not just Quirks. I've spoken at the TMRE last year, as well as the IIEX. I was on panels, and I've been a endorsed multi-year speaker at the Quirks events. I have over 20 years of diverse experience in global B2B and B2C analytics. I've been recognized for the ability to collaborate well with C-level executives and lead cross-functional teams to deliver insightful research and to provide solutions to complex business challenges. So here I am today, wanting to tell you a little bit about my story. So this is the Quirks, from the Quirks conference in 2016. It was my team at the last firm that I was at, and it's at the Rocco Taco right next door to the Marriott. Food is great. That guacamole was amazing. Well, it is amazing because they still make it. So there are 8 people in this photo that are part of my team. One person is one of our friendly agency folk. But on this screen of the 8, only one person is remaining. So why do I tell you about that? Well, let me just tell you a little story. This past summer in August, my family and I were in Hawaii. Hurricane Lane was about to hit the Big Island, and we were watching the news regularly to stay on top of when we were going to be able to get out of the islands. And as you see, it was one of the biggest hurricanes that had been headed to the Hawaiian Islands since 1992, Hurricane Iniki. So on Tuesday of the last week of our vacation, I received a text at about 4:30 in the morning saying, Tina, I wanted to let you know that me and 2 of my colleagues, direct colleagues, are his manager, so that was my manager that called me, his manager and another person on our team have been let go. It was their last day. I have been spared. So my first thought was, am I dreaming? Like, is this really happening again? And I just couldn't believe it. And then reality hit. That explosion in my head was that, yes, this just happened. Everyone on my team was gone. I was going to come back from my vacation with just me. It was just going to be me and nobody else. So how do you think I felt? Yeah, that's kind of how I felt. I was really sad, and I felt lonely, and it was very scary. My trip was delayed 3 more days because of the hurricane. As you can imagine, I wasn't anxious to get back to work in any way, but I still had to go back to work. So why am I here? Why am I telling you this? Well, first, I really need to thank the Quirks brothers, Dan and Steve, for letting me be a part of this this great conference and for letting me talk about my experience, not only from my perspective, but how I can help you, and in what ways are we able to come together and to be able to share our experiences on this fear of the unknown. That's actually how most of you probably felt if you ever had been laid off before, or if some of your colleagues have been laid off. And it's a topic that we really don't like to talk about. But if you did attend the conference and you attended the Trusted Talent session on Tuesday, Bob talked about the consolidation of research agencies. For example, the Dynadata, however you pronounce that, the Research Now and the SSI merger. I'm sure there were redundancies there. With Kantar spinning off from WPP, startups, there are startups that are integrating into larger companies. And so there could be this proliferation of researchers out in the marketplace in the next couple of years. And we need to be prepared. And sometimes reading the tea leaves is not as easy as you think. But just listen to the signals and listen to yourself. And then you could be ready for the fear of the unknown. So it won't be a fear anymore. So in our session, I asked folks to raise their hands if they had been laid off before. And about half the room raised their hands, which it really didn't surprise me. But there had been many others who had been laid off more than once. And this is my career path, sort of in a nutshell on a page. And my early career, I started on the research agency side. I moved my way up into a corporate role at a CPG, promoted, career progression, worked at a large financial conglomerate. So I spent about 18 years, early career, and then boom, I was laid off. 20,000 people were laid off over the course of 6 months. But since I was later, I was mid-career, and many of the folks in the room were mid-career, it's a little easier to find a job. So it took me just 2 months to find a job. So I went back to the research agency side. I went back to another financial services company for about 5.5, 6 years. And then boom, one day, 1 week, 10% of the workforce was laid off right before earnings. So they had to make their numbers to say that they made up for a restructuring chargeback. And this happens, right? It doesn't not just happen in a financial services company. It happens in all different companies. But I was a little more seasoned. It took me a little bit longer to find a job, but 3.5 months really isn't that long. Go back to another financial services conglomerate. Now, never thought that I would work in insurance, and I did, but insurance is a very volatile business. And the company had gone through several changes, and I knew our team could be impacted, because in both of those last 2 roles, I was in a corporate role, at a corporate position, and not in a specific business function. And those roles may tend to be a little more vulnerable. I'm speaking from my experience, because the third role that I was laid off from was similar to the other 2. And if you look at the time frame, it was both the beginning or the end of the year. So it is common for that to happen. Now, my team was already laid off in August, and so I had to give up budgets. I had to sacrifice my daily my daily workload to what I was traditionally doing. And I volunteered to work on another project a project that I was put on, and I spent most of my time there. So I wasn't just sitting around doing nothing, but it was an efficient use of my time. I was impactful in a very short period. I was able to accomplish a goal that was beneficial to the organization. But I'm still not working, and today is March 8th. And so this is not uncommon. This is not uncommon. So I just don't want you to be scared, but I really want you to be prepared. So really, what's in it for you today? I really, please welcome. My email address is at the end. My Twitter handle is on all the pages. You could send me a tweet. But ask me questions, and the people were asking me questions during the session and interrupting me, which I welcome. I would love to hear from you. I didn't cry. Some people got a little nervous there, though. I handed out some candy, and that helped ease into the conversation because I was giving you my love. And it was what I can give to you today. And so I'm sending you all virtual love candy. And lastly, it's not going to be a pity party. It's not about me. It's really about you. And you'll understand that as I take you through the next few slides. So what's the best strategy? Well, there really is no right or wrong answer. Instead, I think you should just step back, embrace what's happening, and then rethink your strategy. And I'm a serial optimist. I really feel that there's good in everything and good in everyone. So take that chance. Take a step back. Take a deep breath. Yes, I love my job, but it's not there anymore. Look at that. You can look as far as you want to go. You can look as close as you want to be. Okay? So take a breath. Because really, you've been given a gift of time. This actually may be the first time in a really long time that you can take a pause and you can step away from the daily grind that allows you to consider what you really love and really what you don't love. Because there's probably a lot more of what you don't like than what you really like. So it can give you that opportunity to step back and to step away to really think about it. And remember, the journey that you set out for, always remember that journey and don't lose sight of the goal. Your goal is to get a job, but it could be also to be happy, right? And what I found was that now I have a lot more clarity. I have clarity. You can't expect the job that you want, your dream job, to jump right off the computer screen and kiss you on the lips, right? But use that time to see your vision. In fact, what I did was I created a vision board, right? I mean, I actually created this vision board 3 years ago, frankly, and it applies today. So I pulled out the vision board. There's a lot going on here, I admit. You see all these different things, a house, a marathon. I still cannot do that handstand, but I will try. I did this, like I said, 3 years ago, and I use this for inspiration, but make it your own, right? If you could just take a half an hour and flip through a magazine, cut some pictures out, and just lay them on a table or on the floor, right? It gives you deeper meaning to yourself and who you want to be and who you are as well. And it was a lot of fun doing it. The other thing that I did was I rebranded myself, and I rebranded my LinkedIn page. Now, I did this a couple of years ago, and I've refreshed it since, and I keep refreshing it. But, put a great profile picture of yourself with a wonderful background that happens to be Maui, where I renewed my vows this past summer when we were on that vacation where we had the hurricane come. That was well before the hurricane. But taking that time to rebrand yourself can also help. And then start writing. Find things you're passionate about. I was doing a challenge, a 24-day challenge, and every day I had some observations, and I called them Tina's observations. And so I started writing about perspectives in my life and my passions around me, and how I would tie them back to real life. What's my next adventure? I wrote this particular piece back in 2015 and I updated it. And this is a good one to take a look at, because you don't know what's coming next. And so to allow the conversation to drive that with others on your LinkedIn network can be very beneficial. And this all served two purposes. It served both a therapy is very therapeutic, and also it gives you some exposure, right? So people can go in and comment on your LinkedIn profile. The next is digging deep and letting go. And sometimes this is really hard because we do self-doubt ourselves. So dig deep and let go. It's normal to doubt yourself when no one seems to want you, said Tina, the serial optimist, right? So digging deep really isn't easy. Sometimes it really isn't easy for us to dig deep. And when I mean dig deep, I don't mean go do all your research and search for that particular job that you want. Yes, that is important. But it's really about the art of self-promotion. I just said I rebranded myself. I started writing. But it's more than that. If you can effectively market yourself, you'd be in a really great position. And it's a vital, vital part of finding a job. And the key to help you reaching that next level of success. And you know what? Sometimes you just can't do it alone. You really can't. And I enlisted a really good friend of mine as a mentor to help me along the way. And yeah, sometimes it feels weird, but I talk to her as my reality check, right? Even doing this presentation I literally called her up and I ran her through a version way before this, and she gave me some really good feedback. And I rejiggied my presentation and to talk to you today, so that it sounded a lot more positive, a little different, or less self-promoting, right? So I enlisted that trusted partner and that peer and that person to help me. Don't be embarrassed, because you're pretty amazing, right? You'll keep on shining. You'll keep on shining. That feeling of just letting go and releasing, you can feel the emotions of this man jumping off that cliff into the waterfall that even looks like Hawaii. It could be Hawaii, I don't know, but it's just unbelievable, the feeling that you have when you can just let go, and it makes you feel so good about yourself, right? But you should also do it on your own terms. And sometimes this all feels like a law of numbers. I applied for 200 jobs and I only got 20 interviews, right? And then I only got called back like 15 times for those 20 interviews, or 10 times. And I got to wait 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 10 weeks for someone to get back to me. And it's frustrating, and I'm waiting, and I have to call this person to get to reach and find out a contact here, and that. It just seems like you're constantly running around, right? Audit your mind and your soul. Don't freak out. Don't freak out, because good things will happen. It will come to you. And if a role really sparks your interest, apply, right? It might be at a company that you really want to work for, but the position It's really interesting. Maybe you have 60% or 70% of the job requirements. You know what? Apply, because you might get it in initial interview. And then you're talking to someone who works there that you never had a contact there. And then you can ask them more about the company and their hiring practices and other areas, because typically the first person you talk to is either a recruiter or, because it's likely not the hiring manager unless you know the hiring manager very well. And you can get a lot of information. So do it on your own terms, right? Ask questions. Remember, you got to love yourself first, because you're more important. You're the most important person. I applied for so many different roles. I mean, a lot of these are traditional um, research type positions, but like right smack in the middle there is substitute teacher. I applied for a role as a sub because I love to teach. I love to, whether it's children, older children, I prefer the younger ones, but or a para educator. It's an outlet. First of all, it gives you something to do. You'll earn some money that day, which is nice. And it might not be as much as you're used to, but you're out there and you're stepping back. I also looked at a role in human resources and in an operational role. I never thought I would ever do that. Or work in an IT department. I have skill sets. I have hidden talents that I'm not using today that's enabling me to keep moving forward. So you should think about that as you're going through your job search. If you have a job, you should today's a good day to start looking for your next job. I'm not telling you to leave, but it's better to have a job, better to find your next job before you lose your current job. Each time that I was laid off, I reconnected with myself, and I made a point to reconnect with others. And I told you that I had been laid off three times in my career. So just a quick evolution of what life was like back 2008 compared to today. So back in 2008, LinkedIn had just started. We got outplacement, right? It was mostly in person, so we were physically seeing people. We went to network meetings. I had a group of friends that we started this COSI breakfast club. So they became friends, but they were 4 strangers before then that I still stay in touch with today. But it took me 2 months to find a job. And in fact, I had a couple of offers, which was really nice. I had a choice. Fast forward 7 years later, everybody's on LinkedIn. Outplacement was more virtual than in person. And if I was in person, I pretty much went once a week. And I didn't really get to meet many people when I was there. Owning your own brand was much more important, and it was really about who you know and not just what you know. And I mean, I think that applies all the time, but at my point in my career, that's what was important. And it took me a little longer to find a job, but I ended up taking a job for a person that I had worked for in a prior role in another company. So it was an ideal situation for me. And you never know that. That's important about staying connected with people. And then in 2018, it's even more important to engage with peers and people on LinkedIn, because you can be seen as an influencer, not to the degree as some of these really prestigious and executive influencers, but you can have influence on your peer set. So you can join a group, say the Quirks marketing event group, and you can become an influencer within that group. And you can start writing, you can comment on other people's posts and be seen as someone that people can come to. You'll start seeing your profile exposures go up, a lot of people looking at you, and that's really nice. Outplacement for me today is all virtual, which is kind of frustrating. I like to go to a place, but it still keeps me in check. And now that I have my brand, I have to work my brand. And it still is more about who you know and working the system and letting all the algorithms for the scanning systems know what you what you do and your resume, this ocular scanning. Key search is jobscan.co is a great resource to scan a job description and your resume to see how closely you're matched. And then you can add keywords into your resume so that you'll get picked up quicker by that particular organization that's looking to hire. So it's changed. The times have changed. And if anybody wants to hire me, I am available for hire. So we were in the room, and I think if you're out and about, or you're at your next conference, or even at work, we had this click system where people were clicking their badges, which worked really, really well. But this is great when you're out and about. So LinkedIn Nearby is a way to connect with other people by just using Bluetooth without having to find them. So to use the feature, you go down to, you need to have your Bluetooth on your phone, and then you go down to the bottom where it says My Network, and you click on that, and then it'll come up with the screen as it is now, and then you will click on Find Nearby, and then you tap that, and when you tap it, it'll pick up everybody else in your general vicinity who is on LinkedIn right at that point. And then you can all connect with each other. All the names of the people will pop up, and you just say connect, 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 connect. So it's great. And, you can set if people nearby can discover you, at a specific time. So you can set it for 9 to 5 for the week, only the week. And when you're at work, people who go into LinkedIn can find you easily. And that's great. So some of the other networking techniques that came up when we were at the conference was, if you are at your company and you wish to, you work on a project with somebody and you don't know if you're going to work with them again on a project, connect with them on LinkedIn, and so that where, that you did work with them, have them give you a recommendation for that project so that you'll remember how you connected with them. That's really important, because when you go back several years and you think, oh my God, how did I connect with, Mary Smith? And then you can go back and realize the date you connected, the company you were at, and then maybe even to the extent that project you worked on. Especially for myself, when I worked at a large conglomerate that I had, I may have 150 connections at that one company, and that was 10 years ago, they have all moved somewhere else. And, they're not there anymore. And now I know where I remember them from. So then I go back and I'm like, hey, we worked at so-and-so. And, remember we worked on this project? I'm looking for a position at your firm, which is now, not that old company. And that we are able, you're able to make that connection, and they'll remember you when you have that particular project in mind. So that's all really good. I feel it's good insight for you to remember, because especially at work, you don't think of linking in with your coworker that's sitting next to you just because you see them every day. But in my case, that person disappeared, right? So then I came back from vacation and they were gone. And so I just highly suggest that you do that. So just one last thing I'd like to say is thank you very much for your time today. And please don't panic. You really just need to step back. You need to dig deep and let go, connect and reconnect with those that you know, and repeat. And just do that from time to time. And I wish you much luck on your career journey, wherever you are today. My email address is at the bottom, christina.nathanson@gmail.com. Please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. And thank you so much. And I really appreciate your time today. Take care and make it great. Thanks. Bye.